Welcome back to Blast R6 Europe League. It is time to start talking about our very first matchup. MNM versus Heroic, and both these teams have actually been quite active during that summer break. MNM have went to win the combined finals, Heroic played the Northern Rumble finals, so not much of a break going on for those two teams there though. But if we start looking at our first team, MNM, they actually haven't made any changes, but I think the main question on everyone's lips is, when is MNM finally breaking through?
It's very hard to say. They've just kind of fallen short at every single time, and I don't think that people are expecting them to be this top tier in Europe, but I absolutely believe that they are. I think that they're a really, really strong team with highly individually skilled players in combination with a good structure. So they are a great team. When they will succeed, you're gonna have to ask them, because it has to come at some point, right?
I'm really glad that you said highly individually skilled, because I think MNM, for what it is worth, are on the precipice of something great with this roster. I think this roster can go to, it's been to basically every major and Six Invitational in the last couple of years, apart from, I think it was Charlotte that they missed. Apart from that, they've been to everything. They can compete. They should have beaten W7M in Copenhagen and gone on a fairy tale run in Copenhagen. The one thing that I latched onto there was individual. I look at their three front fraggers, Solotov, Users, Tyrant, and I'm looking at the amount of deaths that they have traded in the statistics. It's so low. They're not playing together. They're not playing close to each other, and I think that's their big Achilles heel.
And Heroic now, they've made some significant roster changes. They've actually been changing players over the last year and a half, but now they've made a significant one with a change of IGL as well.
Yeah, and I think we alluded to it in the pre-show around they've kept the balance of this system. They lost Uno, who was an IGL. They brought in Leader, who, for what I've been told, is going to IGL them. They lost a Fragger in Skiddy. They brought in a Fragger in Astro. So, for all intents and purposes, the system is still the same. They've got a very good front line. They've got a solid back line. Kayak had a great stage one in terms of the supports. He was up there with the top supports in the league in terms of firepower, in terms of, fragging out as well. So, as long as they can bed these two new players into the system well, and they have been at a boot camp the last couple of weeks, I think that there's a very good team here who people will write off in terms of the group, but they can definitely upset some people.
I don't think that the players have been a downgrade or an upgrade in any kind of real way. I think Astro in itself is such a talented player, as I said previously. I think that he can go on to do wonders. Leader, I think, would set on the same level as Uno. So I think that they've done a really good transfer window here. The choices might not have always been theirs, but they've done what they could with it. I think it's a solid team, and it's up to them to show us on the server, but I think they can do that.
Right, the last time these two teams faced off against each other was in a best of 3 during Deciders. 2-0 for MNM, pretty dominant, 7-2 and a 7-3 if I remember correctly. Yeah. But does that mean that we expect MNM to once again have the upper hand due to consistency, or will maybe fatigue because of so many off-season tournaments maybe play a role?
Yeah, I think there's two things to think about here. The head-to-head, which, as you said, MNM win. In recent history, the only time that Heroic have even taken a map off MNM was when Heroic got to play Bank, which is MNM's permaban. So if we discount that, MNM are absolutely in the ascendancy. However, MNM have had this thing where they played stage 1, they played a lot of rounds. Copenhagen Major, they played the most rounds out of anybody. Then they played the EU Tier 2 tournament, over to the finals. They played the finals of that over in Germany. And in between all of that, they took a trip to Japan for the Japan Invitational. So does fatigue start playing a part when that's the case?
Could be, but as a former player, I don't think so. For me, that would have actually been probably the positive. Sure, you will feel a little bit burnt out maybe, but you're keeping up, you're playing, you're keeping all the communication, all the coordination, all of that just gets better and better and better. So sure, you have a few days of break, which I assume that they have. They haven't played every single week constantly, because no team does that. So I think that it's going to be really up to the mentals rather than through the fatigue. And if MNM shows up, I do think that they're a better team.
And then for Heroic, they've showed some cracks during the R6 Northern Rumble finals. Do you think they have had enough time to fix that in between? Because there's really been a short amount of time between that.
It was a short amount of time when they played that, right? In the Rumble, you can't really judge them because of how short they've been a team. So I wouldn't say that we can really just now know how good they are. It's up to today to literally put down the boot and say, this is how good we are and how good we can be. So show the rest of us that they can do it.
I know from speaking to them, they are quietly confident in their own system, in their own ability, and in their map pool. And I think that's the big thing for them is, they know they're up against it. They know the external factors. They know that everyone's going to write them off. But they do have some, very highly rated players like you say, Astro, there were teams that would have been rushing for a signature. Leader, there's, if G2, for example, just Fearcrafting here, had G2 have gone for Leader instead of Uno, that's a change that you could see plausibly happening because he is a very good backline player and a shot caller. So, I think Heroic are kind of the dark horse of Group B, and they're very happy to be in that scenario. They're not feeling the pressure. They know that there's circumstances such as the changes that might go against them, but they're ready for anything.
But it's a positive opportunity for them as well, right? We heard that the organization is leaving Siege after the stage, but that does also mean that Heroic have the opportunity to show themselves off to new organizations who potentially might be able to pick them up.
I mean, finally figuring out what is happening with your org situation is a relief in itself. They don't really have that pressure anymore that, oh yeah, maybe we'll have an org next stage, maybe we won't. Now they know that it's not going to happen. So they're a little bit playing for their lives. Sure, that can be some pressure. But also if you look at the people inside that team and the staff that they have behind them, they have gone through a lot of things. This is just another step in that. It's nothing to worry about, I would say.
100%. I mean, MNM, they played the Central Combined Finals, where they played a best-of-5 against Wolves, who are in the same group. They had to come back from a 0-2, round or map deficit, rather. They had to do a reverse sweep to come back. That definitely shows some mental resilience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing that was most impressive. You watch Tier 2/Tier 3 competitions, especially when they involve Tier 1 teams. You will no doubt have played in them. I was at Chaos when we had to play in Nordic Championships. We didn't really want to show anything to our Tier 1 opposition. So you kind of play those competitions with a little bit of a guard up of what you do and don't show. But what they did show in that final was a lot of heart, a lot of resilience. To be 0-2 down, it would have been very easy to be like, oh, it's a Tier 2 competition. Let's just go out, let's just play it. Whatever happens, happens. No, they came back, they got that reverse sweep, which has only been done, 4 times in Siege's entire competitive history.
A lot of teams will say they don't want to show things, and then, they get on that server and they feel that competition and, 0-2 down. I've been there. I won it too. But yeah, you come back to that and it's kind of like, you don't want to lose. It's a Tier 1 team you're going up against. It's your rivals that you're going up against because all teams are rivals of each other. You don't want to let that slip. So we might say that they hit a bit. I think that they didn't want to win. They did want to win.
All right, for their respective off-season finals, both teams played Border, Club, and Shelly. Do you expect any of these maps to be brought out today? Because it has been a map that they have shown already, or are we expecting different maps?
I think we're looking at, particularly Shallow of MNM. Be surprised if anybody really inside of Europe lets them get to it in a best of one. I think they are one of, if not the best Chalet team in the world. Likewise with Heroic and Clubhouse, they've had a couple of changes, but Clubhouse was a map that they absolutely loved in the past. So I would expect both teams to try and be navigating away from that. I think in terms of maps, I think we're looking at maybe something like an Oregon or somewhere sat in the middle between these two teams where the teams will try to ban away their, each other's best maps and their permabans. We don't obviously know how their banning preferences are with the new maps yet, but I think that will sit us somewhere in kind of the middle preference for both teams.
I mean, yeah, we can do lots of theory crafting of what we expect the map to be, but we can also have a look at what our map ban phase is looking like. It is MNM starting out. They take out Bang, not a big surprise for them there, but we do end up on Skyscraper. So that is one of those maps that has not been played between these two teams or by these two teams in their off-season finals. Rogue will start out on attack.
Yeah.
Heroic has liked this map, and we've practiced on quite a lot when I was with G2. It's not a bad map for Heroic at all, I don't think.
See, I have it as a low preference, but you have that scrim insight. So we're just leaking it out here that it is a good map for Heroic. Who knows?
Nobody's going to come after me. What have I done? I'm retired.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising to see that MNM have banned away the two new maps, but it's also, like you said, they've been playing a lot of competition. So when could they have, physically gone and worked on these new maps to get them in? I think MNM are a very good, Skyscraper team, particularly on the defense. It's worth saying for MNM, their defense merchants on basically every map. Their defense outweighs their attack significantly on every single map, but more so on Skyscraper. 62% defense win rate, I have 26% attack win rate. So for Heroic, I can see why they've wanted to go there, because if they can weather that storm, because they will be starting an attack because they've chose the map, if they weather that storm and get a decent attack half, they will really put themselves into the ascendancy as soon as they get back onto the defense.
Yeah, and as you said, MNM's attacks, you said earlier, MNM struggle a lot in trading. They don't do much of it. What is the current meta really dependent on in attack? Well, it's all about trading and going in at the same time, so you get that one gap that others can fill up and abuse. So it's a lot of basically playing with each other. And if they have the low trade numbers, that doesn't look great for them. This can go either way, but yeah, I don't know which way to call it.
With Heroic starting on attack, though, we have already talked about them having a really solid front line. What players are we expecting in regards of like a head-to-head on both these teams to really be facing each other on the entry engagements?
I think realistically they're going to be looking at Doom in terms of that attack. I think Doom is one of the best players inside of a U League, and one of the places he excels is the amount of rounds he gets a multi-killing. So not just around where, you know, he's fighting in 1 kill, getting traded out, and that's that. Where he's getting 2, 3, 4, these big explosive plays that you want your players to make. And I think that's what Heroic will be looking for. Like I said, if they're just looking to weather the storm when they're starting attack, a 2-4 half, even a 2-4 half could be manageable to get a 3-point win here because MNM struggle on the attack. A 2-4 half for Heroic on the attack, you're looking for somebody to just make a play, and I think that player would be Doom for my.
Doom is so incredibly talented, but if we look over to MNM, I think it could be literally all of them. Nello might not be covering up as much in numbers, but that's not his role in this team. But any one of the others can really just step up and have a life game. Solotov, there are a few players that I've looked at and seen the mechanical ability of these guys. Yeah, it's useless. Solotov, Tyrant, any one of them can step up. Knave can do it as well. So it's MNM, anyone can do this.
With a little bit of throwback to stage 1, the last time around we started our day with a 7-0 victory for one team. Are we expecting something different today or something similar? Expectations, predictions?
I would be shocked if it was a 7-0. Look, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm actually going to say with the map and with the fact that I know that MNM have really struggled with attacks on this map, I think Heroic are going to do this 7-5.
I'll take it the other way around. 7-5 to MNM.
All right, we'll see if it's 7-5 or either way. The map is ready, so we will be heading into that very shortly. Emmy and Hap, you can take it away for our first map.
Thanks, Anne. It's me, Emmy, and Hap is somewhere.
I'm here as well, don't worry.
I've
managed to
Are you
get
here?
ready. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, Skyscraper is not going to be one of the two new maps that have been added to the map pool. It's Consulate being returning after the rework. But it is still like one of the, I don't know if we can still say that, but the newer maps that we have. It's not the oldest one in the pool.
No, it sort of builds itself well. Obviously, you have a history with it. You have what is, it's a boxy map. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then it is quite a unique map as well. If you start looking at the way that the map is built up, we'll get to that in the first round. As we get through these bans first, of course, Ying to be removed. No flashbangs, or at least not the Candelas to come through. Dokubi as well. Just wondering if we're going to see any of the new operators that we've not seen in stage 1. Fenrir to get banned.
A bit of Fenris. I think he's more likely to be banned than Ram is to be played.
Yes, I think so as well.
I've been on a couple of days in Japan. You might have seen me if you'd watched it from home.
I have, yes.
I've been covering Japan, and we had bits of Ram. We had a lot more of Fenrir and a couple of Fenrir bans. No, at least in the region I was covering, none of the new maps though. So hopefully today, I want to see some labs. I know that obviously Fresh and Fabian, welcome back to EUL, talked about the excitement possibilities of those maps, but yeah, give us a treat. Take a risk. Let's Fenrir straight away.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to see Fenrir straight away, not been banned out, Solace to be removed. And actually, I think Skyscraper might lean itself well to it, and that is due to how the map is set up as well. Of course, we have that big division through the middle. Also important for the top floor, which is not exactly where we are right now, as we're starting off on the barbecue and kitchen bomb site. Often called a tertiary for many teams. It's going to be very important to hold onto the top floor here, basically as you would normally. Hatches to be opened up, and as you can see, the free roam cam that we have on our observer right here.
I was waiting for this to be explored as well. Didn't get a taste of this. We have, I think it's medics on the observing. Yes, he went to look to try and do a nod there. So medics is our observer for today. But yeah, we should get a camera medic sometimes.
Let's get a roaming cam on the back there.
MNM start on defense. First of many jokes to be made today. And Nafe said eyes on the Fenrir. Now, if you're unaware of what the dog can bring, that's the operator. Nafe could be the dog. I don't know. Depends who you ask. It is these very, very consuming sort of area of effects, radiuses. There's 5 of them you can throw out. 3 can be active at once, which is the code. You can see 3 of 3 means 3 of them are currently active. And as soon as someone passes into them, you'll know. They'll suddenly have all of their vision apart from about a 5-foot, 10-foot radius around them become unable to see until you shoot out the gadget a la sort of Malusi wub wub. So we'll get a better explanation of that when you see it. But they are encompassing. They can warn you if certain routes are coming through. They can win you certain angles and gunfights, and they can stop your opponents getting a quick entrance too.
Yeah, and that's why it's going to be very, very good for these kind of choke points. You can really lock them down because basically deny your opponent from taking that gunfight head on. As you see Blaz opening up here into Drum, it's going to be trying to take control of that top floor. As I mentioned, it's going to be very important to have that under control if you want to even try and attempt to plant, because as long as that hatch is under control of the defenders, you're just not going to be able to get that diffuser down in the kitchen itself.
Ticking along, and the first blow is going to be one. We've sort of highlighted the differences between these teams of how they've played against each other in history, how things have sort of shaped up. And I think for my money, MNM has had the sort of smoother off season. They've obviously played in the Japan Invitational. The first kill is theirs to take away as well. They've come out the top of it. They've also beaten Heroic in tournaments, not too far away. And Heroic, they had a part in the Rainbow Rumble, but they lost out in the final versus Wild. They haven't quite had the same success. There's Doom getting caught a lot, but Astro, one of the new signups, huge gunner. And that is something that Heroic have kind of dearly missed in their showdowns against MNM.
Astro, very big talent indeed, is his opportunity again to prove himself. Blast now up, trying to get into the faces of MNM here as they push through. Users will be able to get it down onto Astro, instantly rotates out, but the trades keep on happening on either side.
Blaz is just caught out before they can get anywhere close to the door. Tyrant had the back cover, quickly picked with another leader gone as well. And that leaves just Doom, as many players as health across the whole team, and he goes for the drop but gets dropped. Tyrant gets the final lockout, and MNM start us off with a pretty solid hold.
A pretty good hold indeed, and didn't really feel under pressure at any given point. If you look at where Heroic managed to get themselves as well, never really towards the site right away. So debating that or seeing that, MNM not really having their defense tested fully. That given as well though is that they are usually very proficient on the defense, so it is expected of them to start this off strong. So we'd like to continue with that strength that's just shown, because again, not really contested whatsoever onto the side directly. I think Astro was the one who got closest by quite literally being about 2-3 meters away from the door before he got shut down.
We are obviously on player cams, getting them beamed in from all around the Europe world. We've just been told it's a tech pause, so we'll be back in soon, rather than later. And you can see that obviously MNM, they've got themselves stacked up. They're all in the same place. The coaching team behind them, Anarchic and the unstoppable Mr. Officer. Unfortunately, though, Heroic have been stopped a few times recently, so
yeah, they want to change that. I mean, how often have we had it where Heroic, they just started off so strong and then they just dropped off and basically failed in the very end to qualify for a major? And they want to make sure that that doesn't happen now. They don't want to be stopped again. But they were just stopped in that defense or the attack round. And MNM, again, will be headed off this time, heading a floor upwards. Karaoke and T. See Fenrir again. We're going to see the Razor Blooms of Thorn as well. And I've seen it been hypothesized that that might be a good combination because you won't be able to see when you walk in. And if a Razor Bloom pops, you need to shoot it as well or walk back out to make sure you're not taking any damage. So if they were smart about that, They could maybe combine one or two. Probably we're just going to be seeing a big spread from the gadgets to make sure that as many entryways as possible will be covered, just for the information's sake.
Now, after that tech pause, we have a slightly different sort of pace, maybe something different from Heroic here. Obviously, the lead-in was they were able to get a couple of kills. They were able to get little bites into it. Who's the man with the bees in the top right? That was for you to take.
Oh, sorry. So I was just quickly writing something down. It's yes.
Okay.
Coming in with the Grim. It's going to be.
Why is Grim suddenly here? Hap, explain to the people what's changed.
Well, there has been some buff regarding the gadgetry out there, which should make him a bit more intuitive to play and a bit more successful to successfully pull off there, as he almost instantly gets denied by the Thorn there. So good on him that he walked in just in time. But with that, it should be a bit more effective in the area denial due to the quicker deployment and just higher effectiveness of those bees.
It's definitely picked up for Grim. Hell, we've even seen some kills that have come off the back of Grim's gadget. As crazy as that might be to believe, this is the sort of world we're living in. They give you a little bit more option. They give you a little bit more of a swing. They give you more choice and chance to come on the back of it now, and the pace is a very important part of that. Solotov, talking of pace, looks for the fight here onto Leader. Can't quite get the full clip there, and the feast inside the kitchen. Leader's not going to give away the territory yet. You do look at what he has in his pockets, though, both utility and the kit itself. If he goes down to this fight this early on, with this many hard walls still standing, it could spell a pretty disastrous take.
And don't forget, I believe that they still haven't opened up the geisha wall either, because I believe there was a jammer on the other end, which means they couldn't have taken it out. Yeah, there it is. So nothing has been opened up so far. They need to remove that jammer first. They tried to do it vertically, but failed to do that as well. So now have to go horizontally. That's exactly what Blaz's charge went for, I believe.
Now, as they're trying to crack themselves into the situation, there's a concern of, obviously, if we had Solotov around in that location before, trying to put the pressure on, and, you know, with the Nomad gone, with no real control on that width, with the wall starting to fall, you have to be ever more keenly aware of what's coming your way. Usus goes their way, gets to, there's a swing through onto Blaz. There's Leader getting Usus in the trade-off, but not surviving much long beyond that.
And again, not really any real pressure coming down onto the side, I feel like. It's Heroic who's trying to get into the building, trying to set themselves up for the first push, and then he instantly get just shut down. MNM, they've been holding them off perfectly well. Heroic haven't found the answer yet. The bees weren't the answer this time.
No. The bees were rarely the answer before.
They never really were.
The bees weren't the answer before. But they can be the answer now.
They could be now, yes.
There is actual usage of Grim. It's not just a sort of roll on the Grim dice.
I mean, the thing with Grim is, before you needed to be, like, super precise, and, like, it took a long while to deploy those, the heights. It just covers a bigger area now. It's quicker to equip and to deploy as well. It just makes it a lot more sudden, because you had like a second, it felt like a second or two to respond if one of those hives gets shut off, and now it's almost instantaneously that, you know, those bees get active and start tracking you, which is why it became an option.
The steady approach now onto the back end, and sorry, I'm getting a cleaner feed provided to our in-studio feed, obviously.
A clean feed?
Yeah. As we have, I guess, a cautious setup. You're looking up, obviously, a site here with this direct punch and go. It's the thin wall that you've got that little bit of soft to make things awkward. The mirror has a bit of a stretch, but you've got to have this, obviously, the terrarium side protected against any ingress that comes that way.
It's a daring mirror window, especially if you lose control of terrace, and look at the way the MNM is set up. It's not really directly challenging anybody walking in there. It's really just a mirror that's out there looking to deny that from happening. First set of the Selmas, I believe, have already been destroyed by an impact grenade, and that means they will have to go for a bit of a different approach because they can just keep repeating that trick on and on.
Looking for just that catch, just that play against it. Nello's going to move slightly into the space that's been created. Obviously, that mirror window becomes very tricky to hold on to, but he's in such a good place to swing with the Vector, as you see demonstrated. The gun is a laser beam at longer distances, and the way it fires is flat enough. Users helps rebuild some of the structure, the architect that is. His army getting that put back together and smashed right back down. Blaz trying to knock this route through. The pings come against them. Kayak hits Nello as well, gets the first take. It's the first time it's really started to go in their favor a bit, with Leader getting a quick second. Solotov gone. Users getting bit as well by Leader. A 5 versus 2. 3 kills very quickly. Tyrant at least stems the fight. Nave cannot win out on the back end. Shrine though, leaving just Tyrant. Leader's going to see if he can try and get the plant going down. He's inside the other site, but with no route out. Heroic get their first round.
Great round coming in from Heroic there, and the difference between this round and the previous ones were that, of course, this side is a lot more edging on the exterior sides of the map. You open up those walls, suddenly there's a lot less space to play in, and basically every misstep you make at that point, you're just going to be walking into 2 lines of sight from the attackers at that point. You mix that in with a bit of aggression. If someone walking through, you're definitely going to be flushing out those defenders. So that's the success we found there. They opened up the walls, they managed to get these lines of sight, and they flushed out the defenders as they went. The issue comes when we go back to the other 2 sites where they struggled opening up, and after they opened it up, they struggled really getting in sight. So let's see if they can take some of that momentum that we've seen in that last round into this next one, into that barbecue and kitchen site.
We haven't really seen the biggest catch of Fenrir. Obviously, we talked about them at the very beginning as a big potential operator. We talked about them as a big potential force. And, you know, it's something where you'll get a truer taste of them, but you want the truest taste of how it works with pros, right?
Yes. I mean, that's truly when you see the full capabilities of an operator. In professional setups as well. So that's usually what we look for, like how does it get used? Because we see sometimes, you know, certain setups, they require a certain operator that you usually wouldn't play in your own pickup games. Seen some of the Fenrir gadgets to get activated, hoping to cause some nightmares as attackers will walk through at some point. Or will be carefully droned out, meaning that they probably shouldn't be caught as a surprise. Use some utility here or there, grenades or breaching charges as well to get rid of them before they strike the fear factor into the attacking players.
Ready for the quick response there to any breach that comes into their favor there. Just holding on. Obviously the top corner of this, you're trying to keep that vertical into your favor for as long as possible and making sure that anything else that tries to swing around against you is, well, option A, held off. Option B, not going to get you if you go for the rotate down the hatch. You can waste time here. Maybe even try and put some pressure against them. You know that they need this control, and you know that this is a map where you can almost try and retake aspects of it if that's the play you want. Here, that little blue icon you see above users and above that door is an activated Fenrir gadget. The white one underneath is one that isn't. You can see which ones are active at any point, as you can see across the top and the top right of your screen. Even if you're not paying attention, if someone walks into one, it will go red. They're looking for the break on it. It's still standing for now. The impact EMP could hit it. They could move behind it, but there's a lot of support here for the player. They're having to weigh and waste a lot because, as I said, that player, Azami, is still inside the opposite end. That top corner is that linchpin holding together this hold, and without them gone, they cannot push this shield confidently. The free cam comes out. We drift into this angle. There's the burn and the break on the disc. There's the player, the impact EMP. They're still not fully swinging behind it, so users goes to try and maybe meet them, but there's nothing on the back end. We've been here for 40 seconds, and the fight is going to be one that users actually drives here. There it is. After everything weighed up, users just takes the initiative and the double.
They were stacking up on that door for so long, looking to actually make sure that they were going to be able to freely move through, not having to worry about the Fenrir gadget. The grenade will eventually take users down, though, as we see the gadget in action. Astro's going to be almost completely blinded, will clear up eventually, but then he's the last man standing and will be taken down right after by Solotov. And again, MNM will be able to win that round after what looked like an eternity of them trying to take control of Drum, using so much utility, yet not being able to act on the back of it.
A heroic timeout has been called.
Rightfully so, I think.
Time to have a talk. Time to try and piece things back together because things have drifted away from them.
I mean, the one round we saw, they did well. They did exceptionally well. They opened up the walls. They had the crossfires. Flushed out defenders, and they got them as they rotated. It's basically textbook 101 on how to attack that side. On the other two sides, it's just they've wasted so much time upon opening or trying to go through a single door or wall that they just run out of time, and then they have to push, and then they've used all the utility whilst the defender's utility is still there. I mean, you saw it. They basically knew no one was engaged. They were droning it out. They saw it. They knew he was behind the shield as well. The impact EMP was lined up. What they should have done is just toss it and act on the back of it. Yes, the shield made them afraid of actually pulling that trigger in the end, though, but it's just such a pain to see when there's 3 players lined up trying to take that control, not being able to get a hold of that area. It's just a single player out there from the side of MNM, so should have been doable.
Good news. I got a nicer feed now.
A nicer feed.
Yeah, I can see things properly now, which is nice. I was having a little bit of difficulty, I'll be honest. I probably noticed of entirely getting things. Things are getting a little bit blurry, and as people at home may have noticed, there's a couple of new ticks. A couple of new things in the overlay, changing colors and outlines of players is a new one. I don't know if you've noticed that yet.
No, I've noticed it. It's I was like, wait, why is there someone inside already from the... Oh no, it's okay.
Yeah. So we're so if there are any mistakes, as you can see, there's a yellow outline. That's new. There's not a yellow team in Rainbow Six. We haven't introduced.
If it means anything, might be an Easter egg.
Maybe. We need titanium roller to get to the bottom of this. No, but it allows me to get in a little bit more and lean in towards this game that's ahead of us now that I've got everything crystal clear, which includes, I suppose, the crystal clearness of a timeout, the conversation. Heroic, they're obviously on their attack here. They're putting pressure onto Skyscraper. Remember, they had the choice of whether they wanted to come to Clubhouse or here. If you're going to usually here, you're going to be starting on your attack. It's your choice. It's... Oh, not quite. Crystal clear as that, though. Tyrant tears the head off of Blaz. And I said it sort of briefly at the beginning. One of the things that if you go back and look through the old stats of these two teams hitting heads, the gun game is usually something that is in MNM's favor. Although Heroic can have huge gunners and big gun games, they've just never really been able to get it to connect against people like Tyrant, like Solotov. Not always like Nath, though, but Nath makes good work with a new shotgun.
Instantly the smoke out, a lot of damage being done. The grenade is going to be caught on my disc, buying Nath an extra couple of seconds to get the kill and get out there. And now, well, 2 on 5, a minute 30 left on the clock, and this round basically already seems won by MNM. I think they're even outside on the balcony, just trying to have some fun out there. Like, we're coming to get you, Heroic. Don't try and get comfortable at all. This really tells a story. Tyrant have waiting on the top of the staircase, going to be able to catch another player off guard as the flashbang gets tossed. Now he's going to be staying put for now.
These players don't even have outlines. It's all a bit spooky and goth, but Tyrant gets that kill. Leaves just Kayak, who does get one back and gets a bit of revenge. Pushes Tyrant to only 7-2. I know. I'm sure he'll be happy with that for now, and I'm sure it's going to get much bigger, but Kayak... 40 seconds, 4 players to get through the structure and destruction of not only the site, but the players on the opposite end of the map itself. Great take.
Oh.
3 more, 30 seconds.
Well, it's definitely doable.
Anything's
We've seen
doable.
it happen.
If a team throws this situation, it has been known to be MNM.
I was going to actually say that as well.
But
Smoke canister out, though.
less
Also,
time,
Fenrir
no
probably.
Yeah. Removed, debuffed, rebuffed, and pushed off the board.
Brings us to the last round of this half. MNM back up probably to the exhibition now. The one round that they have lost from Heroic. Heroic was able to successfully attack that by using those angles, by just being effective on the crossfires and opening up the exterior walls. So how is MNM going to be replying to this? How are they going to be finding a response for that? And it seems like the Clash might be the choice to do so. The balcony that you see on the south, just put the Clash out there. Problem solved. Like, they're not going to be able to play that as freely anymore. They're going to be worried about someone just running out or, you know, just trying to toss anything at them there. Of course, it might be completely wrong in how MNM are going to be using the Clash, but that's usually where you would see it on this side.
At what point here do you think Heroic can sort of bring something to build in? Obviously, with the tech amount used, with the idea that they wanted more progress. For me, 2 rounds in your attack on Skyscraper, it's not the end of the world. Are they a bit worried about the second half of this game? It was sort of alluded to that they have a good Skyscraper game by our new up-and-coming, bright-eyed, cheery, optimistic analyst.
Definitely up and coming.
I think he's got a bright future. I think he's got a bright
World
future.
Championship or 2 in the end, you know, you never know.
I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. That young lad. The Heroic can be a good Skyscraper team. Although they haven't really shown it in sort of the biggest play. They have a game. Nath has a different game, and it's called Kill Ya.
And that's going to be that worry out here now as he's active around Geisha. Last time Heroic were able to open up the exteriors and just start pushing in. Now the fight is being taken to them by the side of MNM. Astro is going to be holding this off, but that's one player occupied right now for one on the side of MNM. And they definitely do hear some movement, but with the rotations that are in place, MNM, they just have a bit more of a free roam around here. And, you know, as they're also struggling with opening up these walls, well, that's not going to get any better for MNM, for a Heroic.
Well, explosions on the left of me and grenades to the right. Solotov, here you are. What are you going to do with it? You're trying to find the quick pop out. You can't quite get the bite onto that fight, but you find a freebie on the back end. Leader caught out. How does he get another one? Oh, they're really running away with some situations that shouldn't be theirs. And it's a little bit tragic right now. Astro, one of the 2 new pickups, left hanging and waiting. 1:20 in the round. Kit was dropped with leader on the back end, and it's all falling a bit apart here for Heroic.
It's definitely not looking good in this round. A 1v5, an ace clutch is what they need to go for, but the Clash is knocking on his front door right now. Forced to jump out. Instantly some suppression coming through as well. Astro looking through the openings in the wall, now headed towards the window. Will get the injure onto Solotov and the confirm as well, but still a 4v1. Now, hasn't got the kit. 50 seconds left on the clock. He needs to find all kills. Also up against that Clash. He's just hiding in a corner out here, so no matter what you do, if you jump through, they're going to be able to see you no matter where you are.
Yeah, they see you.
Yeah. The bailiff kill in the end.
Oh, not a bailiff. Not a bailiff. Not on the first play day.
I mean, the close range there really suits the bailiff, so fair enough.
That does well for it.
Might be certain.
It has some places it can go. Reigning Japan Invitational champions, MNM. Thought I'd throw that one in there. They're currently sitting pretty here, 5-1. They have done a lot of the distance here on their defense, and the only game ahead now for Heroic is the game that they can play. If they cannot wrest any control of the pace, shouldn't have got this. And then the second was almost worse. If they can wrest some of this control of this half, if they get the first, maybe the second round, and they put it into a 6-2, I mean, at that point, it's very tricky. If Heroic can wrest any control from MNM, at what point do you think MNM try and take a timeout? When do you think they think we've gone a bit too far here? Because they could just cement the offsite twice, and it's their map.
I would say 5-3, 5-4, somewhere around that mark is when we're going to be seeing a timeout coming. Just to make sure you take the wind out of the sails of Heroic. You managed to put down such a devastating half for them, really, where only one round they were really in the fight, which is, of course, round Heroic 1. You kind of want to keep them on that low. Kind of want to, you know, make sure that your attacks are going to be as convincing as your defenses were.
Doom wants to get in an early bite. Haven't quite been able to have any of the feast. I don't know, I'm just making food jokes, but hey, it's the hungriest sight in Siege. Now they wants to try and drift a bit closer, and you can see that the approach is one that's covered by this sort of multifaceted swing. The idea of modern attacking Siege, as put to us by the big brains on our desk, is you have 5 different players in 5 different places looking for that single hole. They think Doom might be a weakness that they could put the pressure on, but he takes the head of Solotov off and starts to dip his way a little bit further back. Has stolen 1 drone on the journey. Tyrant cannot find him. Doom, great take, great third. And he's almost pulled himself up to an even KD in a single corridor.
That's definitely, you know, throwing everything in one hallway there, trying to deal with the issue. Not quite finding it. It's only up to Nello now. In a 1v5 situation, hoping to clutch this out, but they might just use this as well as a bit of a, you know, a false timeout. You have 90 seconds. There's going to be a very small chance of him winning this round out here, so take that minute to discuss about what just happened. Slow it down before it becomes an irritation factor. That's exactly what he's going to be doing, all the way to spawn, drawing a smiley.
What else are you supposed to do? At least it's a smiley.
And this has definitely taken away the flame that Doom has been able to build in that last round.
Do some cool free cam stuff.
Yeah, this is your opportunity. You have a minute now.
This is your opportunity. Here we go.
I feel like this has to go really controlled, just by like...
How fast can you go?
I think you can go really fast.
Is it... Go faster. Here we go.
It's like,
oh, that's a good shot.
Beautiful shot.
We're going to get medics in trouble. Okay, I mean, we're 30 seconds. This is another smiley face.
Yep. See, they all know what's going on right now, so it's just smiley face time. So we have this smiley face, and we have the one on the staircase. Are there any other smiley faces that have been drawn? Oh. Oh. It's a sad face. I do like how Medics catches them as they happen, though.
I mean, he knows where Joy is. Oh, it's got a nose. It's like a little snowman.
Nose cute blow up. Explosive nose. All right, so after that round, yes, 5-2. It's a bit of a throwaway one for MNM there. You know, they just had a very, very great half, and then everything kind of crumbled as they tried to take care of Doom. So they're going to have to visit that and think of what exactly went wrong there. How can we improve and make sure that that doesn't happen again in this this exact game?
It was, I mean, a huge round from Heroic. There's always that famous Siege saying of how do you beat a player on the day? How do you beat a player on their round? There was just fantastic motions that were played on the back end of there. They had great reactivity, whether it was being fed to them, whether it was just the awareness of they're probably going to be here on the other side of the tomatoes. It is hard to argue. The kill onto Tyrant as well, the back end with that gun from that distance against a player that's kind of expecting the route. Brilliant, brilliant play. But it's always that situation. You want to, as you said, slow down the momentum. He's moved on to the Fenrir. He's very capable when he gets into it, and that is a good gun in the right hands, assuming, yeah, he's got the little bandity gun.
A little bit of an MP7. It's definitely an all-time favorite for many players. As we're getting the drones out there from Bravo to see if there's anything to be hacked. see MNM opening up on some of the walls as well. See the Excars instantly going off, providing a direct line of sight towards the barbecue and kitchen if there wasn't a castle barricade on the other side. So that's what they will need to deal with next, is Naif. A lookout. Maybe getting some default cameras. Always very helpful, especially in the attack. Defenders usually don't watch out for them.
Oh, there's another one stolen there as well. Hot property. And you do love a bit of Brava. When she first sort of came into the game, we didn't get a large sort of test of her, but it's a great gun. Power in the right hands, and it's also a power in the right hands. Look at that. All of those Fenrir gadgets taken, fell, and removed from the hands of it. And for those who don't know, if those gadgets get stolen or destroyed whilst you've got a code in them, you do not get that code back. So Doom has, at least as we've seen, lost 2 potential activations, maybe 3.
It's definitely not great. There is still...
You're right.
Some time that has been wasted so far, a minute 20. Not really any big pressure coming down onto the site just yet. There's a drone out there hiding though. Tyrant now looking to make his way over. Just checking, making sure his back is completely safe, as definitely some crossfires being set up here by MNM as they're looking to find a way through, looking to go for that first pick. A minute already has passed so far.
It's the longest that we've generally had. All 10 players alive as well. Tyrant, great start to this game, and Doom is starting to have a great potential end to it. Blaz, though, can he have the same impact on the second half the same way Doom has, who was obviously only on 1 kill at the start of this swing? Naif gets 1, Astro gets 1 right back. There's Blaz with the take onto Tyrant 2, and now the 4 versus 2. Mello has at least a teammate and 1 removed from his opponents this time around. There's a little bit of separation, but not too far as Naif creeps his way up towards the top of Black. They know that they still need to force some of this vertical play and position out. Unfortunately, can't get anything locked in and solid. Nello gets removed from Blaz on the back stairs as well. Heroic. Another round in a row. If this next one goes away from MNM, as you sort of predicted, and I think I would too, we'll probably get an MNM timeout.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we're going to be seeing that one soon. And as I said, 5-3, 5-4. That's when we're probably going to be seeing it. And it's at 5-3. So they're taking their opportunity now, basically running into the same problems as Heroic were on those first 2 sites. And now they know it's time to hit that dirt tree. We need to make sure that it's going to stick. Because if it does, they're going to be finding themselves at least on that 6 mark. It is quite important. It's always worth 8 points or more. And, of course, having the opportunity to lock it out right afterwards as well, putting that pressure all the way to the max for Heroic.
I mean, you can see that those rounds, they just sort of stumbled a bit. They got a bit close. They weren't quite able to, I guess, get themselves a bit more confidence on the swing round. And suddenly these engagements where they were having the pressure come against them, some of them, those engagements where they were having them, like, sort of hit against their holds, it became tricky. It became in some ways uncomfortable to have to kind of cut through. And whether it's because of the introduction of Fenrir and the changes in how, you know, the balance of weapons, shotguns getting themselves a bit sturdier, and some of the changes in swings there, or just the nature of this very boxy environment, it is standing up to its boxy title. It used to be a fight onto the door of drum, it used to be a fight onto the swing of shrine, and then you would sort of push your way across, but it doesn't even feel like teams can comfortably get into those locations at the minute.
There's definitely some struggles going on, but with getting into the build and getting into the right positions so far. So I'm going to be really interested to see how this next round is going to be playing out. T is such a difficult side to attack usually. Geisha very heavily relies on being taken there, or on the other side, the backstairs, which have to be taken down as well for that same kind of plan. So usually very heavily contested on the staircase.
Quick focus. I even saw a white outline. Yeah, Astro's a white outline. Juma's a black outline. These outlines are entertaining. I think that's...
I wonder what, like, concept...
I have no idea.
Would it be the reticle color that the players use?
That would be if players start getting customization choices over their own outline. I'm calling the Ubisoft police.
Time to stop.
It'll hopefully be fixed soon, but if you are seeing outlines, we're doing our best to keep up with who is who as well, and you can assume Nello is still very much the attack on the side of MNM here. Again, this steady sort of wiggle through. There's the player not swung too far away. They've actually dipped their way out via Sushi on the far end. Users does find Astro. It's the first time it feels like MNM have been able to get a kill and get away, and it be the first kill for a while. So the team talk has had some success. Solosov, oh, he was very close to a fight here with Joom. They know that he's somewhere nearby, but they just missed the wrong angle. Joom's able to get one back. He's trying to slip in towards the next angle. He gets himself onto camera. He doesn't know. Oh no, Tyrant, a quick response there.
Might exactly be what they need on M&M's site, though. That's a man advantage they can now work with. A minute 20 left on the clock. Kayak as well, trying to take some fights towards Drum, instantly falling back. D1D pops, oh, standing still, not trying to move. Tyrant waiting right below, patiently, hoping for someone to be a bit impatient, step a bit out of line, so he can move and benefit on the back of it.
Oh, now that's a little bit cheeky. Blaz caught out by the angle opened up before as well. Users just thought, I'll have a dip. Kayak gets dipped into Nello on the way back round. 3 versus 2 versus 2. Leader is able to get a good solid connection there. Now, as they find themselves at a bit of a stem, you look at 30 seconds left, the ping's on the player, and Users pre-fires. The shot just gets the tail end. A huge round for him so far. All down to the new pickup Leader, but they cannot get the angle and the hold on the round. Post MNM timeout, they get themselves a potential penultimate round. And now, with the closer divide, with Heroic having done some groundwork, will they be able to push this a little bit further along? They're currently sitting in this close position. They're currently sitting, you know, closer than they were at the start of this game, but after a timeout, as I said at the very beginning, you know, with theirs used, they have to play to the beat and the rhythm that MNM put forward from that point onwards.
Yeah, that's it. It's do or die now for Heroic. There's no more breaks that they can utilize here. If they fail to defend, the game is over, and they'll start it off with a loss. And of course, given the fact that this is such a heavy group, so many like A-tier teams. Of course, all of our, you know, European League teams are top tier, but these are like frequent major goers that have been inside of this group. Starting it off with a loss, that's going to be detrimental to your chances of getting that straight up qualification spot for the Atlanta Major. So they need to fight it back now. A point has been lost, but it's still 2 to be gained for Heroic.
Okay, MNM, closer and closer to pushing it over the edge here. Heroic, you have had these big moments, and you know, a lot of their kill game has come here on the second half. We've seen a couple of players pop off from being only on 1 kill before the second half started. Skyscraper is turning itself into more of a brawl than we really expected it to have any right to. With how things went together, they could potentially get another, obviously, 2 sites, get themselves into a 6-4, 6-5, and suddenly the game on paper is as close as it could possibly be. But if MNM get that first foot here, this first swing with the Mavericks trying to steady and burn their way through, Kayak does want to have the response to the players outside. The spray through the soft doesn't net any rewards. They've otherwise moved off, but they've just made it uncomfortable for Kayak.
Yeah, for sure. He's not going to be able to play that fully for free anymore, but it's still going to be very difficult for MNM to remove the bandit battery. Of course, that was the goal, so they could utilize a Selma to fully open up that wall and really make that position unplayable afterwards. Now it's just going to be a bit uncomfortable, and Kayak will deal with it. He probably will still play there. It's just going to be like, have to pay a bit more attention. Going to be opening up on the other side as well now. And Geisha, Blast will be forced to drop back off. This is going to be opening up quite a long line of sight for the attack to utilize, and with that bandit battery gone as well, it will be opened up, so Blast has to try and make a move out here.
Just pulling away from a drone that you assume was stolen based on Tyrant's attempt to get rid of it Obviously, the Nook does get some secrecy against that sort of play and pressure, but with Nello putting it around the other side, it's Blaz that actually gets Solotov. Suffers and sprays through the soft. Tyrant gets the pick back up. Looks towards the shield, but doesn't stick around long enough to find the engagement with the player behind it. However, they do have an option. It's called throw the grenade round to the side, do most of the damage to Astro. They survive with a sliver on the shoulder, but as I think everybody who plays this game knows, a Warden with a 1.5 is always capable of tearing your head off.
Most important part, though, was taking care of that shield, because that really makes it into a strong position out there. That has been removed right now. Nello, you have to be very careful removing that bandit battery. Surely you're not going to try and put the extra thermic on right now. Nate, he's looking to cover, but there's too many open angles for them to really step into that room freely to try and get the kill onto Kayak behind it.
Oh, there it is. We saw that set up at the very beginning, and Chekhov's sort of burnt line in the ground. It comes back in the final act. 3 versus 2 versus 3 Astro. As I said, a Warden with a 1.5. They're never quite dead until they're gone. 5 seconds left. Nello has barely any health. Sprays towards potential angles. Heroic aren't really offering him anything. They're all around house stairs. They're just going to keep themselves checked and safe in the background.
Got closer in the end, but there was still too many rotation possibilities for the defenders to utilize. Their lack of opening up that main double wall that looks through the 2 sites. It really hurts them out there. That you kind of want to have that watched as soon as you start putting pressure on the site, because you basically remove those 2 big rooms from the opportunity of rotation for the defenders, which is just a 6-4. Still, 2 more rounds for MNM to try and lock this off. 2 more rounds. Heroic will have to win to push us to overtime. Barbecue up next. Again, top floor will be very important here, but we might also just see a complete beeline to the bomb site. Well, even the frame has a black outline now. That was usually the yellow one. Now I know where the yellow one came from.
Wait, what frame?
The one frame.
Oh yeah.
Usually that was yellow. Now it's black.
Oh yeah.
So I know where the yellow outline came from.
It's kind of cool. It's kind of goth. Kind of moody.
I know you like that.
A couple of players have now stolen, but they have like red guns. I like it when it's like, look, the gun is red, but the player. It's like playing like laser. It's like, you know, do you ever go to like Laser Quest?
Yeah.
It's like that. It's a new.
It is very enjoyable.
It's a new operator.
Does it make it work easier? But that doesn't matter. We've been doing it for long enough. It's
yeah, I mean, you learn things, although sometimes we're getting the full taste of names coming through on the side. You can see MNM, they've obviously suffered on that last map, but they did get a bit of a lead in there. They have, I still think, a little bit more bite to them. Heroic have to be on their toes here, as you always do when you're on map point. Team is ready for the hop out, ready to try and have a bite, but Nello instead gets an idea, and the idea is to spray through the soft and remove Doom.
And it was almost like a completely silent punch on that barricade as well. That if you do it that way, you don't make as much sound as you usually would if you prepare that window. So very good ears on the side, or drone on the side of MNM, able to pick up that first kill, very important. And now the Selma's able to open up a geisha as well. Truly, a lot more prepper work is being done very early on for the side of MNM right here, and that puts them in a good position to take that top floor under their control. Oh, Solotov. Oh, Solotov.
I mean, Solotov makes the motion when you need him the most, and now suddenly Solotov's knocking right on the door of the site. Remember, last time they were in this situation, it ended up being pretty much a 2 versus 4. But MNM were the ones on the back foot, still having to retake all the vertical. Just in that play and that pressure, leaders come down, yeah, but they're forcing the vertical players out of that position. They have to retreat, and taking control of that territory is usually a huge ask. Cutting their way across, as Solotov did there, it does a lot of that work without as much of the risk. It's still not entirely over, obviously, but it's a much cleaner start here for MNM, and they still have a man advantage.
I mean, it kind of makes all the alarm bells go off, right? Like, there's someone on the bottom floor near the actual site, guys. I've just been taken out there, and oh, that was a bit of an awkward moment out there with a Bravo drone.
Yeah, I don't think they expected the player to be exactly there.
No, definitely not. But that's a bit of information gained, you know, so it wasn't completely useless, the drone jumping down out there. That confirms at least one spot of these players. They know his second one was downstairs as well, leaving only one unaccounted for. And Tyron is going to go on the hunt right now.
Yeah, obviously the player left to that situation, but with 30 seconds, there's no point playing yourself into such a dangerous position. In fact, you might be able to pull off and go for a bit of a route and a roam, and there it is. Blaz on the far end of the prep corridor gets rid of Nello, and that's the kick cold, so suddenly 15 seconds, and with Astro offering some support, look at this motion from Heroic. They've gone, well, we can move away from it. We can go for a bit of a retake. Yeah, MNM's going to tuck themselves in and go for the plant itself, but they're fighting their way back across here. Astro gets caught out. Blaz does get one, cannot find the man planting though. Looks for the engagement just after, wins it out, puts them into a 1 versus 1, but the worst timing. There's a reload cancel, and there's a moment where he at least survives it. Usus though is up against them. He's playing a hell of a game in a roll, and MNM, they were able to just push it over the line with Heroic getting it a bit closer than it was before.
Not going to be saying it was a very convincing victory, but convincing enough for MNM. Some struggles on the attack. But that was it for the very first game of the evening. MNM taking the 4 points. Let's toss it back to the desk.
Bye.
This is the Blast R6 Major in Copenhagen. Are we ready, Copenhagen? 24 teams from all around the world made the trip here to Denmark.
Okamesh is straight on inside. He finds one, looking for a second. Okamesh is just eating him up for lunch. Gomez, as he plays behind one of the remaining Kiva barricades, to be a big nitro here, and it's massive! Trying to get ahead of it, spots it moving down the stairs, and there it goes for VP. The free go for VP! Everything falls to Sploit, down in the 1v2 here. They're both focused on him. No! Better!
We are now down to our Elite 8.
Surely not resets! He's making the 1v4 look so winnable! There's no way! Resets to ace to 1v4! Esk is trapped in a corner.
Finesse can collect one, a second, a third!
Oh, he's just insane!
Something feels a little bit different today. It's Championship Sunday! 24 teams made the trip, 2 remain.
The defense, there comes 1 kill and 2. It looks like there's one last stand in its Vods against his old team. It could not be any more bittersweet.
Are they going to be able to close this out here and now?
Welcome back to Blast R6 Europe League, where we just had our first game. Not quite the 7-0s we had in the previous stage, but MNM do come out victorious over Heroic. We will talk about that game in a little bit, break it down, everything that happened in that server, because did it really go toward our expectations, as you would say?
I would say that it did go to our expectations. I mean, Jack mentioned the low trading power from MNM, and we actually got to see that in their attacks. And then they really did really good in their defenses. They barely allowed Heroic to play. They completely bullied them outside of the map.
If we break it down from the very beginning, Heroic were very slow on their own attack in these mid rounds, and MNM play really aggressive, kind of playing into that slow play style that Heroic is bringing out.
Yeah, I think we saw that MNM have got that front line that is to be basically feared. You know, you don't want to go up against users, Tyrant or Solotov, when they're not even letting you get anywhere close to the map. The amount of engagements that happened where those defenders were peeking breaches or windows and just not even letting Heroic get close or get set up was incredible from MNM. It was so aggressive, it was so upfront, and Heroic had no answer to it, especially in the mid rounds.
They were ready for it, though. If you look at the game plan that they started the round with, but then it was something really, really shut down for Heroic. We had that one round, I think it was round 4, when they were attacking into kitchen, shield and drum, and we have 3 guys who move around, and we're not really getting anywhere with the utility for Heroic. So there was MNM playing really, really good, but I also think that Heroic played quite poorly in their attacks.
Well, I mean, yeah, MNM played into the slow play style, bringing it operates like Clash, for example, but some players on the side of Heroic were really struggling with that as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, when you're playing up against that front line and you're struggling to deal with the front line, and then at the same time you're just walking into a clash, it's always going to be difficult. And I think they're the kind of cracks that Heroic will have potentially seen in scrims, but scrims then convert into officials, and seeing them in officials, it will definitely be a learning curve, because had Heroic have been better on their defense, on their attack, you're looking at a completely different game that's potentially still going, you know, into overtime. I don't think Heroic played too badly. It was just their attacks that really let them down.
The map also kind of plays into that play style a bit as well, to add on top of all that. So it was a good map by MNM looking at their defense side, that's for sure.
Before we continue breaking down this map, we do have our winners on the line, so it's time to speak to them and ask them a few questions about what exactly happened in this game. We're joined by Eden. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I hope you're doing good too.
Well, better after a win, obviously.
I mean, you just keep on winning. You've won the Japan invite, you've won the combined finals. Do you feel like you even had time to relax after all of this?
We relaxed before, it was enough. No, we just continue with whatever is coming, and we try to win everything.
All right, that sounds good. You also seem very confident on Skyscraper, especially on defense. Did you expect the map to be played out like this?
It was not a top priority, but it was one of the maps that we were kind of expecting. So yeah, and we prepped it. So yeah, it was half expected, I would say.
I mean, you did really good on your own defense, but then the second half happened. What kind of happened there?
I would say classic MNM attack. We play a bit disconnected, and we have a bit of troubles to just go in. But you've seen timeout and remind them what they have to do, not to try to be over creative or over adaptative, and that's enough. We came back on our attack and we've won the next rounds.
Indeed, that's all that matters. Tomorrow you've got Wolves coming up. Now, you've played them in the combined finals. Is that a bit awkward?
Yeah, combined final, obviously 10 days before playing them. Oh, it was a bit rough. And we even played the full best of, so 5 maps. So yeah, we'll see. We have a few maps we haven't played so far against them, so probably that we want to play them. Probably we want a rematch. We never know.
I mean, we're expecting some secrets to be brought out then, I guess, for tomorrow?
I won't say anything. they are today to relax, they are today to watch the game, so I won't give them too much intel.
Okay, I understand you can't be giving away too much. Is there anything you want to say to the fans after your first game?
Well, thanks for the fans for supporting us. Thanks to all the people that turned on in Japan and Combine, people on live, on stream, etc., supporting us. That's also because you're supporting us that we perform and that we want to continue performing. So thank you, and see you tomorrow, I hope, for another interview.
It's a very kind and wholesome message. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and maybe we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, classic MNM on their own attacking half. Is that what happened?
I mean, yeah, Eden did say that's exactly what happened. And there are some question marks we have to ask about that, because we look at the absolute last round. They have a 5-on-3 situation, and then we see Solotov peeking completely alone. And then we have a 3-on-1, but they have won the map. They won the game. And then 2 guys peek on their own. They have to have better decision-making in these situations, because they're giving away all these stats. With nobody there to trade them, they're not playing off each other one bit.
You've got to wonder, you know, the front line of MNM is absolutely excellent, but you've got to wonder how consistently they can keep hearing. And, you know, they've won today, but we wanted to see that be cleaner, I think, is the message that we're saying. How consistently can they keep hearing, you're over peaking, it's classic MNM, you're throwing. This game could have got away from them. had Heroic been a little bit more clinical on the defense, you know, like you say, a 4v2 into a 2v2, the MNM just managed to win out. A 5v3 into a, whatever it was, a 3v3 at the end. And I think that's where if this team has aspirations of winning majors and winning invitationals and going all the way, they're the bits that they need to clean up.
If you say peak in solo, does that also kind of mean that they lack some coordination with refrags?
Yeah, I mean, they completely did. They just went off the charts, and if we look at the numbers from the first 3 rounds alone, I don't think we saw one refrag, but that wasn't even on the guy that killed him, but a misplay by Blast completely.
I remember like absolutely screaming when I was in backstage, there's been a refrag, yes! And I think we've got a clip to show just how this, you know, kind of transpires. And it will be the clip that shows Doom, and it's kind of weird running a highlight of Doom getting a 3K when it comes up, but it wasn't just Doom getting a 3K. If you look at this, Doom and Soltov have a little bit of a shoot-off against each other here. At this point, MNM know of Doom's location, and MNM have got great positions to just get rid of Doom. What does Soltov do? Jumps in on his own, doesn't get refragged. Another player jumps in the bathroom window near Blackstairs, then he's way too late, gets killed. No refrag coming in, and then what does the bad player do? Jump in the kitchen window. Now, when you look at that situation, yes, Doom has played that excellently. Yes, Doom's got a 3K, great clip. What could MNM have done? Well, one player could have gone window, one player could have gone delivery door, the other player could have gone in the bathroom window, and they guarantee at least, at the very worst, a 1-for-1. What did they do that round? They lost 3 kills. They lost the round because they was in a 2v5 within moments.
Yeah, they seem to like those 3-1, let's go together now, and then just do things as a group. And honestly, that's one of the most basic things that there is in team play. If they shape that up and they do better with that part, I think...
Because they've still won despite that, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
They're just that good individually.
Yeah.
They shape that up, and there's few teams that can stop them.
But then tomorrow against Wolves, as we mentioned, a bit awkward because they played against them in the combined finals. How is that looking for them?
Maybe take a little bit of confidence. They've just beaten them in a best of 5. I know best of 1s and best of 5s very different, but it's one of them is, you know, they knew they were playing each other when they came into combine. There will have been things reserved. Maybe we see them pull out, you know, Nighthaven or Consulate potentially.
Wolves have had a really rigid way of banning maps previously that I think that now with some map bans or maps changing in and out, I think that they might change that up. For a best of 5, I think Wolves struggle more with the map bans than they do for a best of 1. So I think that map-wise, Wolves will probably have a bit of an advantage. And then we most likely know exactly which map they're coming to because of the way that Wolves ban, but Wolves will always be comfortable for what they're doing.
For sure, for sure. I mean, we'll have to wait until tomorrow before we get to see that. But luckily, there's plenty of more Siege action happening today. It's so good to be back. But we will have a little bit of a break before we do come back with our second matchup of the day. Secret versus Into the Breach, our new org, back in just a bit.
They were able to just push it over the line with...
I wouldn't have imagined it, you know, a few weeks or months ago. But now that we're here, it feels like we belong here.
I know that they're going to think we're a very easy target, and I think that might be their downfall.